Yes. So last class we had started transportation, which was yesterday. We saw blood vascular system. In that we discussed blood and blood vessels. We were yet to do, or we had to do heart. Right. So we'll start off with the heart and then proceed. Okay. Right. I'll show you a video. So before I show you this diagram and okay, why is it stuck? Right. Before I show you this diagram and explain to you what the parts are and which are the arteries and valves you need to know, we'll see one simple and not that small, but yeah, small video which will tell you or show you the entire pathway of what happens. It is a nice video, so hopefully you'll be able to understand better. Yeah.
Human heart anatomy observes the heart divided into two distinct and separated partitions, a deoxygenated or low oxygen partition and an oxygenated partition. There are some human congenital heart conditions that can result in this oxygenated and deoxygenated blood mixing, however. More on that at the end. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Think A for away. Arteries are typically oxygen-rich, but there are exceptions. Veins generally carry blood to the heart. Veins typically are oxygen poor, but there are exceptions. Capillaries are small blood vessels, and it is at the capillary level where oxygen is delivered to organs and tissues and where carbon dioxide will be picked up to travel back to the lungs. So looking at this heart, the right side, and that's the person's right, so for you it will look opposite, pumps deoxygenated blood, and the left side pumps oxygenated blood. We can also see four chambers, the right atrium and right ventricle, and the left atrium and the left ventricle. I like to remember that A comes before V in the alphabet, so...
Right. So whenever you see diagrams like this anywhere, usually they'll denote or usually they'll show you the deoxygenated part in blue and the oxygenated part in red. This is just for your understanding, so that when we are studying the structures or when we are studying anatomy, etc., for our better understanding that okay, deoxygenated would be here. For that reason, it is red and blue. But usually blood cells are usually always red only, even though they are deoxygenated. They'll be a slightly lighter shade of red, but yeah, they won't be literally blue. Okay. Right. So now they'll tell you all about the chambers and valves, etc., and then move on to the pathway. So wherever required, I'll pause it and I'll tell you if there's anything extra I want to tell you. Okay.
Right atrium and right ventricle, and the left atrium and the left ventricle. I like to remember that A comes before V in the alphabet, so that helps me remember that A's for atria are at the top of the heart, V for ventricles are at the bottom of the heart. Atria also have thinner walls than the thicker walled ventricles. The heart also contains valves, which we'll see when we get to tracing the pathway of blood. The valves are one-way structures that help separate the chambers and also prevent backflow of blood. Ready to take the adventure of a lifetime? An adventure tracing the pathway of blood through the heart? We're going to start with blood that is in a human toe. This blood is deoxygenated. It needs to get to the heart so that it can be pumped to the lungs to pick up oxygen and then be spread throughout the body. It's going to get there through the vena cava, inferior vena cava to be specific, as the superior vena cava is above the heart. The blood enters the right atrium. The right atrium contracts, pushing the blood through the tricuspid valve, blood through the pulmonary.
Right. Just see this for now. I'll tell you when this pathway you don't need to take down right now. There is a flow chart which is already there, which this pathway is given in a simplified format in that flow chart. So once we see the video, I'll ask you to take down that flow chart from the PPT. This is just an introduction to the heart. Okay, so yeah, it might seem a little fast, or it might seem that there are too many things being said, but just try to observe the passage of the blood. Don't try to remember all these names right now. Just try to understand and observe the passage of blood, like from where is it coming, where is it going. Observe this blood droplet. Okay.
Valve to the pulmonary artery. By the way, when you see the word pulmonary, It likely involves lungs. The pulmonary artery takes blood to the lungs. The lungs are where red blood cells in the blood will take on oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Now this blood is oxygenated. It needs to return to the heart so that the heart can pump it throughout the body. The oxygenated blood travels through a pulmonary vein to the left atrium. The left atrium contracts and the blood travels through the mitral valve, also known as the bicuspid valve, into the left ventricle. The left ventricle contracts and pumps the blood through the aortic valve and out a major artery known as the aorta. The aorta is a major artery that carries oxygenated blood throughout the body. Now, I don't want to neglect the fact that the heart needs its own blood supply.
Okay, I'm just going back for a bit just to retrace from where it is starting. Okay, so this is how it would work ideally. Let me just show you with the okay, we have green color. Right, so blood enters through these two blood vessels, you could say. Okay, they will bring in the blood. Why are there two? Is this is coming from the upper part of the body. This is usually for the lower part of the body. So blood comes into the heart from here. Okay, then it enters the atrium. It enters here. Then it moves down. Then from the ventricle, it is pumped to the lungs. Okay, in the lungs is where it's going to pick up oxygen, and then it's going to come back via this pulmonary valve. Okay. Okay. Then once it enters via this pulmonary, sorry, not the valve, pulmonary vein, it's going to enter here. Okay. Then it will enter here. Wait. Okay. Right. Once it picks up oxygen, it will enter through here. Right. Enters the atrium. Then into the ventricles, back here. Now from here, it will be pumped to the rest of the body. Okay. This is the basic flow of blood. Just the basic. From the blue tubes here, it will enter. Then next it will move into this part like this to the lungs. Then from the lungs it will enter again. Always the blood enters the atrium. You can think of it like that, right? You don't have any place or any major vessels entering the ventricles. They don't really have access like that. So blood gets pumped out from the ventricles. Okay. And then it will finally be delivered to the rest of your body, and this cycle will keep continuing. Okay. Okay.
Body. Now, I don't want to neglect the fact that the heart needs its own blood supply for delivery of oxygen and glucose. The heart can receive this blood supply through coronary arteries. Coronary arteries branch off the aorta and eventually deliver blood into capillaries. These capillaries deliver oxygen and glucose to the heart. Coronary veins will take the deoxygenated blood to the right atrium, where the blood will eventually travel the pathway to become oxygenated. In fact, to quiz yourself, can you pause and trace the pathway of blood again, starting with the right atrium? Okay, all together. Right atrium, tricuspid valve, pulmonary artery, lungs.
Pause. Yeah. This is just the same thing. Let me just see if I had to explain. Yeah, these are some facts. No, I'll just show it.
The significance of the pathways, how they interact, the coordination of contraction, and many more elements are part of every beat of your heart. A human heart beats over 100,000 times per day, so it's significant that every beat is coordinated and blood is directed where it should go. The complexity of the cycle, which is the coordinated sequence of the heart's contractions and relaxation, isn't something this short video can go into. Hopefully a separate video on that soon. One last thing.
Okay, so yeah, this is the basic. Okay, Why does it not pop?
Anatomically, some heart conditions change the pathway flow of blood. One example that we had mentioned before is an atrial.
Fine. Right. So I just wanted to show you the basic video. There is one more video. This video is, what I would do is maybe I'll send it after class on the WhatsApp group so you can watch it. It's the same thing, but they have shown the pathway of blood, etc. in detail. So I thought first a basic video would be better, and then showing you a little more technical version would be ideal, right? But if I show it to you now, it will be like just the same thing repeated. So yeah, I'll leave that to you to watch. Okay. Okay, so when we talk about the structure of the heart, or what all you need to know about the heart, is this basic diagram is what you should be aware of. Okay, sometimes they ask you to draw it as well, in case, yeah, if you want to know which all diagrams you need to draw. Sometimes they do ask you to draw the structure of the heart, but basically you should be aware of all these different blood vessels, the main ones, okay, and the chambers of the heart. So chambers of the heart, what are your chambers of the heart? Okay, if you want, you can take this down. Okay, this would be, you have right atrium.
Ventricle.
Yes, right atrium, left atrium. Okay, right ventricle and left ventricle. Correct. Okay, so you have 4 chambers. Correct. Out of this, atrium are always the ones on the top. Okay, and ventricles are the ones at the bottom. They gave you a hint also, right? You can remember A comes before V, so A will always be on the top. Atrium is the singular version. If you want to, if you are considering them together, you can call them atria. So even if you see the word atria, it is correct. It is the plural form. Okay. Ventricles, the plural form is just they put an S next to it, so there's not much to get confused. Okay, next thing you need to know are what are valves. Again, as explained in the video, valves are basically these kind of structures. They look like this. Okay, and they are basically something like flaps. And what is their purpose? Is the purpose? Okay, so you need to know the purpose of valves. The purpose is to prevent backflow of blood. So what happens is when the blood is entering from the atria to the ventricle, or when it is being pumped out from the ventricle to the either to the lungs or to the other parts of the body, you do not want that blood to come back. You don't want it to go backwards in the wrong direction, especially here, the ventricle to the other parts of the body or to lungs. You do not want it to come back into the ventricles. For that, in all those places, you will see valves. So in this figure, all these white flap kind of things you can see are all valves. There are many valves. The 4 main ones are just shown here. You don't need to remember the names because there are many and not required at this time. But you need to know what is the purpose of valves. This is important. Okay, knowing what function they serve or what do they do, that is important. Chambers of the heart is important. Next, you need to know 4 major blood vessels which are connecting the heart directly. And those 4 major blood vessels are pulmonary. Okay, wait, I'll write it here. Let me. Can I erase this chambers of the heart part? Then I'll write it here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. I'll write it.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Could you please repeat where the valves are located?
If you see the figure right here, all these white flap kind of structures which you can see, these are all valves. So they are ideally located between the atrium and ventricles, and where the between the ventricles and the major blood vessels. Okay. Right. So the major blood vessels. Okay, I just wrote blood. Major blood vessels which you need to know are, first one is uh, vena cava. Okay, in the video there were two. There is superior and inferior. Even in the figure there will always be two. Okay, this is the first one. Okay, yellow is a nice color. This is a part of the vena cava. This is also part of the vena cava. Only thing is this part. Okay, the top part brings in blood from the head, shoulders, etc., upper part of your body, and the bottom part brings it from the rest of the body. So that's the only difference. It is the same one. It is still vena cava only. So you can just remember vena cava. No need for superior, inferior. That's for your information. That if you come across, superior is the one bringing from the top and inferior would be from the lower parts of the body. Okay. Next you have, okay, wrong color. Next you have aorta. Okay, I think I should write it here, no? That will be better. Okay, vena cava brings blood from the body to the heart. Yeah, you can take this down. I would recommend if you would take this part down because this will help you. Okay, blood vessels part. This also. Chambers, yeah, I think you'll remember even if you've not taken it. Right, so vena cava brings blood from the body to the heart. So yes, this would obviously be the deoxygenated blood, right? Deoxy. Okay. Next you have aorta. Aorta brings in, or rather aorta sends. Okay, so you have these two in combination, which bringing and sending stuff. Again, you can remember the convention of arteries and veins. I like it was shown in the video. Arteries is away, so aorta will also be sending it away. Aorta is supposed to be the main or the biggest artery in the body. Okay, they can ask as an MCQ question sometimes. This is the biggest artery in the body. Okay, this is the major or biggest or anything, whatever you want to call it. Okay, again, so remember A is away and V is always bringing stuff. Even in case of veins, the veins are usually bringing stuff. And here are our two exceptions. Why do we say usually bringing stuff? The two exceptions are there in our figure, or the ones you need to remember, which are mainly these two. Okay, now they become a separate category. Why is, I'll tell you in a bit. You have pulmonary artery. Okay, I'll erase this also. Right. So your next set is pulmonary artery, and you have pulmonary vein. Okay, now pulmonary always refers to something to do with the lungs. Okay, your chest area or your lung region is usually called the pulmonary region. So remember that also. That whenever we talk about pulmonary, it will have something to do with the lungs. So now with that connection, you know that pulmonary vein or artery have something to do with the lungs, right? Okay, but only thing is here you have to be very careful is that the pulmonary artery is the one sending deoxygenated. Okay, I'm going to write it in red so that you remember. Okay, pulmonary artery is sending deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Okay, and pulmonary vein is bringing oxygenated blood from the lung. Right, so this is our exception why we always keep saying most of the arteries. Yes, so I am. No worries. If you drop off and you have to rejoin, I'll let you in. No worries. Okay, don't worry. Yeah, so this is the reason why we always keep saying that, most of the arteries send oxygenated blood and most of the veins send or bring deoxygenated blood. So these are our exceptions. Very important. You must remember these two. You must remember what they do also. This is a sure short question. Like whatever question they want to ask you in the form of MCQ, one marker, anything, there will be one question regarding pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein, because you will tend to keep getting confused whether which one brings what and from where is it coming, right? So always remember pulmonary has to do with the lungs. So these two are either sending or bringing stuff or sending blood to and from the lungs. Okay. And the artery, this is the only artery which sends deoxygenated blood to the lungs, and the pulmonary vein brings oxygenated blood from the lungs. Right, so we know. So why is this happening is basically you have your cycle, let's say this is your heart, okay, and this is the entire circle, or let's say loop of blood vessels going to and fro all the other organs. Okay, something like this. So this is one channel. Now you also know that in respiration you learned that this is our lungs, right? And the CO2 O2 exchange is happening here, which means CO2 is right. CO2 is being released from here and O2 is being taken in here. You also know that oxygen needs to be transported or travel to all different parts of the cell for respiration. Correct. So somebody has to take this O2 and send it to all parts of the cell so that cellular respiration can take place, isn't it? So how does this O2 reach all the parts of the body or all parts of the cell? Is via the blood, because hemoglobin is the major carrier for oxygen. Right. So when you think of it like this, you can connect everything together. So now your question of why these two arteries are, going to the lungs, or why is there a separate system like this, will also be answered. So basically what happens is, from here you will there will be one connection from the heart to the lungs, where this is going to take in all the waste, CO2, etc., which needs to be expelled out. And there will be one more connection which will be coming from, okay, let's take orange, yeah, which will be coming from the lungs to the heart, which will have O2. Correct. So this is how it will go, right? So this is why, so this connection which is happening of CO2 O2 is via these blood vessels. Okay. Okay, have you taken it down, these points? Can I go ahead? Yes, Arna, you had a question or done?
Ma'am, I had a question.
Huh.
Ma'am, when the deoxygenated blood comes to the heart, from the pulmonary vein, and also from the veins, all the veins, then how is it like, how is the carbon dioxide taken from the deoxygenated blood as a gas?
So that happens in the lungs. We studied that, right?
Oh, from the alveoli.
Yes, exactly. So this is
And
just a channel where all the veins will bring in the, not the pulmonary vein, all the veins other than the pulmonary vein will bring in the deoxygenated blood. From here it goes to the lungs. So it will end up at the alveoli. At alveoli it will give off its CO2, okay, and take in O2 and come back to the heart. And from here it will be pumped back to the body.
the blood gets recycled, right?
Yes, it gets recycled, correct. Okay. Okay, have you all taken these points down? We have this lung to heart connection a little bit in detail, which you need to remember in the next slide, right? Okay. Okay, I'm assuming all of you have completed writing. Nobody's answering today. Okay, okay.
I'm done.
Are you all sleepy or you are tired? What happened?
I'm very tired, honestly.
Tired? Okay, thought so. Because no, not one word you all have said. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll try to wrap up the class early so that you get some time to rest. Okay, let me do that. Okay. Yes. So this is very, very, very important slide. Again, this is another question which is definitely asked in whatever exam you take. Definitely. So please make this flowchart also and write these points also. Okay. Right. I would recommend all of you to take this flowchart down because this is very helpful when they ask you to explain it in short or draw a flowchart or for your understanding also. This is one of the simplest diagrams there, right? So just make sure you all of you have it. Okay. Right. So what are they explaining here is the same thing. How there are two channels or basically the connection between the heart and the lungs. Okay, and the fact that there is one cycle or one loop here and we are making another loop like this here, right? So because the blood is being or it is moving in a loop twice, it is known as double circulation. That is the simplest way to put it. Okay. Okay, what I would do is once you take it down, I'll explain this flowchart. That will be better. Just let me know once you all have taken it down.
Ma'am, can you show a small rough idea to draw the flowchart? Because it's a bit confusing.
Rough idea would be you can just make boxes. So just make a box for lungs like this. Then make two arrows and make one bigger box here. This instead of drawing valves here, you can put lines like this also. Right? Rest everything is just boxes and lines. You can make it, I mean, if you are not able to replicate it as it is, just make small boxes or just write words like this and draw lines. That's also fine. But make sure that the lines are correct, that the right atrium, the arrows, so the body organs are bringing blood into the right atrium. That has to be correct. You can't send it to the right ventricle. So just be careful of these direction of arrows. Erase everything.
Yes, after writing, making the flowchart, you also have to write everything written on the side.
Ah, yes, yes. Please do write that also. That is the meaning of double circulation. What is given in the point format is what exactly, or you could say definition of double circulation.
Done, ma'am.
Done? Okay. Let me know once the others are also done.
Completed,
Done,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Right. So usually most of the students, right, they get scared when they are asked double circulation, or this topic becomes a little bit of a terror or a difficult topic for most students. Even when I was at your side, or I mean, we could say that when I was also learning it for the first time, double circulation went over my head as well. So that's why I am trying to explain it to you or make it easier, so that once you understand or once you connect the dots, that why is it happening, then understanding, okay, that what is double circulation will be clear. Once you have understood that, okay, this is nothing but the reason that the blood moves twice, it is called double circulation, then writing short notes or writing definitions or drawing this flowchart will be very easy for you, right? Okay.
And I'm still drawing.
Yeah, I'll wait, no worries. Done. I think three or four of you said done. What about the others? Done.
Mom, just a minute.
Okay. Others, y'all are
Yes,
here,
ma'am.
right? Okay.
I'm still making.
To sleep. Okay. Right. As long as y'all are awake, I'll wait. Just this would be your last week, right? So next week you have summer vacations also from next week, or has it started?
Ma'am, it's from next week, from 2nd May onwards.
ठीक है, cool. So yeah, just 2-3 more days, then aram.
Ma'am, exams will start right after the summer vacation.
Exam will start right after the summer vacation. Acha. I thought they give you some more
Like,
time because
No, ma'am.
last year,
It's on July
Yeah,
1st.
there's like 10 days before the exam.
But
yeah, like 1 week
Yeah,
or
10.
something.
1 week.
Because
10
it
days.
is not possible for them to take exam immediately because they haven't even finished the portion.
that's what. Last year
Like
also
in
they had
history,
not
they
finished.
didn't even start the chapter yet.
ठीक है, right. So yeah, it must be the first month of reopening, but yeah, not immediately. Because I remember we also had taken last year, we also had taken revision sessions for this chapter again, because after summer vacation everybody had forgotten what we had done. So that will also happen. Okay. ठीक है,
Teachers
done,
just
right?
have
हाँ.
come like prepared for something or like that.
It's on 1st July, the first exam will start.
First exam will start 1st July. Acha, and you have summer vacation till July or June?
No, June.
June.
19th June.
19 June. Great. ठीक है. Okay, copied, right? Okay. Now I just want
Yes,
to
ma'am.
tell you one thing in short. Whatever I was explaining till now, I just want to write it here in short so that double circulation is clear. Acha, I'm not left any. Wait. Okay, next to your flowchart, just take this also down in short or however you are comfortable making it. This is for you to understand double circulation. Okay? So there is this. Okay, it is coming from here and it is going like this. Okay, this is one cycle which is happening. Okay, parallelly you have something else which is happening in the lungs. What is happening in the lungs? Okay, I'll make lungs below. You have coming in and CO2 leaving. Okay, and now you have okay, I'm just drawing it. I mean, if you can draw it closer or anything, please go ahead. I'm just trying to make it based on what I know, so it might not be very neat and tidy. Okay. Uh, right, and you have from the lungs, it is going back. Okay, so this is your second cycle. Okay, because there are these two cycles which are happening, it is called double circulation. This is the very simplest form of definition, or you could say the in very simple language, if you were to explain double circulation to anybody, this is how you should be doing it. So if you understand this, that this is what is happening, then understanding or writing short notes on double circulation is the same thing. Now when I ask you to write a short note for 3 mark, what will you do? You will write all technical terms. You will say that the blood from all the organs is sent to the heart via the vena cava. Then the heart then sends deoxygenated blood via the pulmonary artery to the lungs. Then from the lungs, it is going to come back via the pulmonary vein. And then from the aorta, it will be pumped back to the organs. So you will write this entire story and make it for 3 marks. There is nothing more to double circulation than this. Okay, and this exact thing in terms of technical terms, or in in proper using proper blood vessel names, chamber names, etc., has been given to you in the previous chart, which or flow chart I told you to take down. Right, it's the exact same thing. This I drew for you to understand why are there two cycles. So what is happening is, in this one cycle, blood is being pumped. Why blood is being pumped is because your all your organs and everything need blood, because blood acts like a transport channel for everything. Okay, it carries water, proteins, enzymes, salts, everything is transported from your blood only. So this transport channel now also transports oxygen to all parts of the cell. And why do we need oxygen? We need it for cellular respiration. Right, so now if you connect all your life processes which you're doing till now, you will get your answers that okay, so this is why we need transportation, and this is why heart becomes a major center, or you could say the a major location for transportation, because heart is the one which is pumping out all the blood, right? If your heart was absent, or it is malfunctioning, something like that, oxygen would not be able to reach all your organs. Okay, so understanding this will ensure that you never go wrong in what double circulation means. Okay, okay. Now let me explain the previous flow chart. Right. Yes. So the exact same thing is given in the flow chart here. The definition is just stating in proper language, or like I explained in simple language to you. If you can't write that in the examination paper, right? They will be like, okay, you are not supposed to explain it in such simple words. You're supposed to use some keywords. So those are written here, right? The basically the two cycles involving one cycle being blood going to the heart and the other cycle being blood going from the heart to the lungs. Those two cycles are what are called as double circulation. So one half pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs and the other half pumps oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. This is the half of the double circulation. So this would literally translate to one cycle. Okay, it's not saying half of the heart, not like that. Okay. Right. So this is all what we studied, explained everything. Yes, yes, tell me.
Ma'am, should we note it down?
No, no, you took this down already, right? No need to note down.
No, ma'am, not the. I note down the flow chart, but the information.
Yes, yes, you had to take this down as well. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Right. So instead of drawing the complex heart here, which is difficult, right? At the stage of drawing the entire diagram of the heart, it takes some amount of practice and of course patience. So instead of doing that, you can just draw whenever you need to do make a flowchart kind of thing for double circulation. You can just make boxes like this, like is shown here. You can even avoid drawing the walls and just make lines and just write right atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. This is also good enough. Okay. Yeah. And then they've just given you the information on how the blood would flow. So right ventricle will be the one via the pulmonary artery. The blood would reach the lungs, get oxygenated and come back to the heart via the left atrium. Then again the left ventricle would pump the blood via the aorta to the body organs. So remember, ventricles will always pump bloods outside the heart, or they will be sending the blood either to the lungs or to the rest of the body. And atrium always receives blood. You remember that also. Okay. Right. Going ahead. Yes, these are some extra things or extra terminologies. It would be great if you would know. What is blood pressure? This is important. Take these two down. Skip the third point for now and take the fourth point down. Fourth point very important. Yeah, skip the fifth one also. We come back to it when we do revision. Right, so blood pressure is basically, this is the definition, the force that blood exerts against the wall of a vessel. When you are pumping something, right, you need some kind of force or there will be some kind of pressure. Even the water which is coming out of your tap, there will be some amount of pressure in that because it's being pumped. Okay, same thing. The heart pumps the blood, so there will definitely be some amount of pressure by which the heart or the blood is able to reach all the organs and all parts of your body. Correct. So that force is called blood pressure. And this is usually greater in arteries than in veins. This is because the heart requires extra effort to pump the blood to the rest of the body. So that's why it is higher in the blood pressure. It's higher in the arteries. Right. These points are just telling you why or when it will be higher, which part of the cardiac cycle. So maybe when we do revision, when you are little comfortable with heart and the chambers, etc., we'll do a little bit on the cardiac cycle. Then I'll tell you what is systole, diastole, etc. So skip this for now. Blood pressure is measured with an instrument called sphygmomanometer. Very, very important. And be very careful of the spelling. Okay. Definitely asked as a one marker or MCQ. Yes, somebody
Excuse
wants.
me, ma'am.
Huh, tell me.
Ma'am, you have only have to write the tick point, right?
Sorry, I was not able to catch you. I did not.
Ma'am, the points which you have selected, we only have to write those.
Yes, yes, correct. Only first, third, and fourth point. The ones I have ticked. Yes. Right. So blood pressure is measured with an instrument called sphygmomanometer. I don't think any of you would have, hopefully none of you would have seen this or been near this, but yeah, usually this is how it looks like if you see in the diagram. Okay, there's like one this belt kind of a thing like this, which the doctor or the
There's a
medical.
now I've seen it. And there's a
Huh.
box, and then like they tie it with like to your arm,
Yes, correct. They tie it
And
to
these
your
are
arm.
and then
mostly
they like
seen.
really tighten it, and then they pump. Like there's this sack, and then they pump it constantly.
Correct. Yes,
Ma'am,
yes.
it's mostly seen in the hospitals.
Acha. Okay, you've seen it in the hospital.
Ma'am, and after like while it's working, it tightens even more.
Yes, correct, correct. It tightens. Yes, so usually it is there with almost every doctor. Even if you go to a small clinic, also they'll also have it, right? Because this is one of the first things they check when they are doing general examination, right? They check your temperature, they check your pulse, they check your blood pressure, things like that. So this is one of the things they will measure. But yeah, this they start measuring after a certain age. Okay, so after maybe once you're in your late 20s or late 30s, you'll start seeing this machine frequently, right? Okay, till then they don't really, unless you have certain complaints, they don't resort or they don't take out this machine and they don't use it on you, right? So yeah, like Aryan and you all said, um, so they tighten it. Yeah, Ashka also said, right? They tighten it around your forearm, your yeah. Oh, you have an electric version at home. Okay, I haven't seen it. Right?
Same.
So this is okay. I haven't seen the electric version, automatic. Okay, I'll have
It's
to
like a
see.
box, and like you have to put it
Yeah.
again, and it'll, instead of like there's no pump, and it'll
Acha.
show the data on a screen.
Oh, great, great, great. That's nice. I've always seen this one. Even till date, I've only seen this one. I'll have to see the
Even
electric.
I've seen the actual one only.
Huh. So yeah, then there is this balloon kind of a thing which is shown here. This is used to pump or make it tight. So basically they are removing the air and just tightening the flap around your arm. For that reason that pump is there. And this is the thing, or usually there is this thing in a box, there's a mercury scale, right? Instead of this, where you will get your readings. Okay, and you get two readings. There will be 120 or 80 mmHg, right? Hg stands for mercury, you must be knowing, because they're measuring in this scale, and they measure you during both parts of the cycle. So the cardiac cycle, right, it's divided into two phases, so that's why you get two readings. So they take the reading in both the cycles, that's why you get two readings. And yeah, there is a certain range. This is the ideal bp, but there is a certain range which is obviously allowed. If it goes above or below that, then yeah, you will be having some kind of troubles, or you might have to change your diet or things like that. Yes, correct. So yeah, this is all little extra information, which is why I said when we do revision we can come back to it. But knowing the name of the instrument is important. That can be asked anytime. That's not extra information, right? Sphygmomanometer. Okay. Yeah, so like I said, if the blood pressure is not in a certain range, when it is low, you have different kinds of trouble. When it is high, it is also troublesome, of course. And when it is high, you have a condition which is called hypertension. Okay, right. So yeah, these are the things. Again, when we do revision, I'll come back to it. Okay. Okay, taken these 3 points down. Shall I go ahead?
1 minute.
Okay. There is one video on what happens during a heart attack, and there is one another video on how does oxygen travel to different parts of our body. Both are TED-ed videos. I will it's the links are there in this PPT, and yeah, hopefully I'll be sharing the PPT today itself. So I'll send those links to you all. When you get time, definitely watch them. They are like you will. It's a nice way of understanding how exactly your body functions, things like that. Okay. Yes, Arna, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, when they measure the blood pressure during systolic pressure and diastolic pressure, to get whether the person's blood pressure is high or low, which do they consider, or do they take the average of it?
No, they take both, right? That's what I was trying to tell you. You get two readings, no? So they take both. One is your systolic and one is your diastolic.
So they take both and take like the ratio of the, sorry, they take the both and
Yeah,
in
yeah.
respect to that.
They take both, and there is a, there will be a range prescribed. So you will get something like, I think the normal BP is in the range of 110 to 130 or something. And for the first reading, and for the second reading, it should be in the range of 70 to 90, something like that. So if it falls between this, if the values are there between this, means you have a normal blood pressure like this. They don't do any further calculation beyond these two readings.
Ma'am, and what is the SI unit of it?
mmHg, millimeter mercury. Here. Yes.
Ma'am, Hg is mercury. Sorry, ma'am, I
Yes,
forgot.
yes. Hg is the symbol for mercury. Okay, yeah, I think in your electric one also it will be showing mercury only, right? mmHg, or do they show any unit or no? Check and tell me. The ones who said you have electric ones. So try experimenting with it, or just, see once if somebody is taking a reading, see what units are there and tell me. Okay. Should be mmHg only, but still, I'm not sure. Okay. Cool. Done. Okay. Right. Yes. So yeah, that was the end of blood vascular system. So that all. So whenever they ask you to describe, or whenever they ask you to write about blood vascular system, you will be writing about these three things, right? You'll be writing about the heart. You can, if they ask you for short notes, you can give a brief description, right? Heart is the organ which pumps blood to all parts of the body and collects deoxygenated blood, something in short. Then blood may, I've given you all the points, right? Multiple points you can write. Then blood vessels also you can write. There are three, and what do they do? So now based on the amount of marks, or the question, the amount of marks for the question asked, you can modify your answer accordingly. So if it's asked for 2 marks, please don't write essays and come that, okay, I wrote the entire thing and came. That doesn't make sense. Just write in very brief that heart is the main chamber or the main location for pumping blood. Blood is made up of different components like so and so, and these are the three blood vessels. That's sufficient. But if they ask you for a 4 or 5 marks, then you write everything which I've told you, right? Write everything under blood, write everything under blood vessels. For heart, you can again give brief description only, because there's not much, as a description of the heart which you need to know. You need to know about double circulation in particular, right? Okay. And when they ask you double circulation, you know what you have to write. Correct. Okay. So yeah, that's the end of blood vascular system. Next we see lymphatic system. Okay. Lymphatic system consists of, just like blood, the exact same thing, you can think of it. Okay, but instead of blood, there will be lymph flowing in the lymph vessels and lymph capillaries. Okay, so it consists of, just write these 4 points. It consists of lymph capillaries,
Ma'am,
lymph vessels. Yes.
and we have already written this yesterday.
Oh yeah, you all mixed up batches. No, I'm so yeah, you don't need to take it down. I think you and Arna both would have written it, so don't need to take it down. Yeah, I'm a little bit fast slow in the batch speed. It's not the same. So, okay. Anyway, right. So there are lymph capillaries, vessels, nodes, and the fluid which is flowing inside all these is called lymph. You can consider it to be the equivalent of blood. Okay. This figure on the right is just to show you that, some of the major areas or the major nodes which are there for the lymph, where the lymph vessels would be. These are some of the organs where, all the destroying of cells, or the killing of infectious or toxic things happens. Like appendix is the main region where you have lymph. Thymus is another main gland where all this lymph processing takes place. Bone marrow and spleen, these are important for RBCs as well. Peyer's patches again exclusively for lymph. So this is just to give you a brief idea. You don't have to remember anything from this. Just know that just like your blood system, there is a parallel system running next to it which has lymph. And why is it a parallel system? I will tell you in the next slide. Okay. Right, done, right? Just 4 words. I'll go ahead. Yes. Okay. So now what is lymph? You need to know. You can take down these points. Yes, please take down the whole slide. Everything is important, right? It is also known as tissue fluid. Okay. And what is this lymph is basically, suppose you have an organ here, right? If this is your organ and you have a capillary here like this. Okay, this is your capillary. Okay. And you know that blood has to, okay, let us make blood in blue. Blood basically has to diffuse from the capillary and go into the organ. Correct? That's what we read about yesterday. That this is what the capillary's job is, that it would ensure that the blood, is transferred between the organ and the blood from the organ is taken back up. So when this is happening, some amount of blood escapes inside or in between the cells. So your body, right? There will be like organ 1 here, organ 2 here, organ 3 here, and so on and so forth. And always in between them there are a lot of empty spaces. Empty spaces are basically there are cells just to ensure that they are packed tightly. Okay, so these cells or these spaces in between are what are called as intracellular spaces. Or you could say intercellular, since it is written intercellular here. Let me not confuse you. Okay, intercellular basically means in between cells. So a group of cells come together to form tissues, a group of tissues come together to form organs, right? So even if I say that cells between two organs, they will also be intercellular cells, or the space between two organs will also be referred to as intracellular spaces or intercellular spaces, right? So some amount of blood basically instead of reaching the organ, it leaches out here like this, and you cannot leave it open. So nothing in our body, you will not find anything freely flowing inside our body. Everything is moving in tubes, it is moving in channels. Okay, everything is channelized, everything is moving in tubes and channels. Any fluid you're talking of, blood, mucus, water, whatever it is moving in channels. Okay, so just so that to ensure that this leached out part is not going to freely flow around, it is taken up by this parallel channel which is moving here, which is called a lymph channel. So this could be anything, it could be a lymph capillary, it could be a lymph vessel, anything. Okay, so this whatever leaches out is taken up by this. So that is what makes up lymph. It is made up of all these things. See, it will tell you it is made up of some amount of plasma, proteins, and blood cells, or salts, or water, or whatever. Whatever leaches out is taken up by this lymph channel and it becomes your lymph. Okay. That's why it is similar to plasma, and that's why it is colorless, because the amount of red blood cells which come out are relatively lower. Okay, not that many will seep out compared to plasma and other salts or waste materials or anything like that. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is the function. You can write function next to it. This is the function of lymph. It carries digested and absorbed fat from the intestine, and it will drain all excess fluid back into the blood. Okay. Okay, done. Yeah,
No,
Tia,
ma'am.
no need to write once again. Huh, Aryan done?
I'm writing the function.
Okay, okay. Lymph usually questions on lymph, but when they ask you questions, if the question is framed like this, this becomes your trick question. Name the okay, name or state the components of transportation system in humans. Okay, if you are asked this question, 90% of the time what happens is you will only write about the blood vascular system and you'll forget about lymph. Okay, in only this type of question lymph becomes important. The fact that you are supposed to add lymphatic system as well here. It is also a part of the transportation system in humans. Correct? So make sure that if such kind of a question is asked, please make sure you're writing both lymph and blood vascular. Of course, yeah, during practice sessions or when we do questions, I will, remind you once again that these two are supposed to be written here. Okay. And what do they ask is, yeah, one marker question like what is the function of lymph or what is known as tissue fluid, what is exactly lymph, that kind of question can be asked, nothing more. Nothing on what is lymph capillary or what are lymph nodes, what are the lymph glands, nothing on that. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Aryan, done?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No.
Okay. Everybody done, right? Okay. Yes. Yes. Now we come to transportation in plants. Okay. So plants, again, going back to grade 9 tissues chapter, we learnt about two main tissues, right? Which were xylem and phloem. Xylem is the one which is responsible for, you can take down the second point. First point is not required. Yeah. So there are two kinds of transportation channels, or you could say, yeah, TK, two kinds of transportation systems in plants, right? One is the transportation of water and minerals, which is done by the xylem, and transportation of food and other substances, which is done by the phloem. Yeah, again, this is just a figure which will give you the difference. That is, once you are familiar with the concept, you will understand the terms written here, that there is a one-way flow, but phloem will have a two-way flow. Okay, water never comes down back again, but food and minerals can move anywhere from anywhere, so there will be a two-way flow, right? Other things about the structure you should be aware from grade 9, right? How phloem, what is the specific structure of phloem, etc. All that we had already studied, so that won't be there again now. Okay. Yes, now we look at how it happens in detail. Like there are some points you need to know in xylem, like basically how water moves from the roots to the tip of the leaves and how it is, given out. And how does food move from the leaves to all other parts of the plant? So that a little bit in detail, that would be about transportation in plants. We don't have transportation in other animals or anything else because, yeah, okay. Now maybe when we do revision, I'll tell you some extra information on circulatory system in fishes, etc., and so on, because some of them have two chambered hearts, some of them have different chambered hearts. So that one or two points extra I'll give you when we do revision. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yes. So first we look at how does transport of water take place. Okay? You can take down everything. Slide is required for you to understand how it takes place. Yes, Tia. Question?
Can you please show the first slide?
The previous slide just said that there are two channels. One is xylem. You can just write this xylem for water, and you can write phloem for food and minerals. Okay. Yeah. We'll be looking at both of them in detail, right? So if you just write this much is fine. Give you the other points here. Okay. Yes, so we need to understand how water moves from the roots to the tips of the leaves and how it is given out. Okay, so one thing you need to do is water is always taken up by the roots, okay, specifically by the root hairs via osmosis. Now, who can tell me what is osmosis? Yes, Arna.
Ma'am, when from high pressure to transportation from high pressure to low pressure of water.
Okay, okay.
Can be of any other substance also.
No. It can't be of any other substance.
Oh.
That's diffusion. Yes, Anika. Would you like to add something?
Yes, ma'am. Osmosis is the process of like when water molecules move from a higher concentration to a lower concentration.
Okay, ठीक है. Yeah, partly correct. Anybody else who remembers the full definition? Somebody.
Ma'am, exchange of gases from, ma'am, movement of water through a semi-permeable membrane from a lower solution to a higher, I forgot about that part.
Okay, you added
Yes.
whatever was missing from the other definition. ठीक है. So, yes, Ashka, partly correct. You forgot semi-permeable membrane. Everything else is correct. Right? So, yeah, Aryan, your semi-permeable membrane was contribution, major contribution. The other part was wrong. Not from lower to higher, it is higher to lower, right? For the which Anika and Arna and Ashka said correctly. So this is movement of, just like diffusion. If you forgot what is osmosis, please make a note. Please write it down. Right? These basics are important. Only if the basic is clear, then understanding all these definitions and whatever they've written here, that becomes easier. Otherwise, you'll end up mugging it, no? Which is not our aim. Okay. Movement of water molecules from a region of high concentration to a region of, okay, I'm erasing this. I don't have space otherwise. Low concentration or lower concentration via a semi-permeable membrane. Correct? Okay. Yes. So what I was trying to say, or why did I bring osmosis into the picture here, is osmosis is what happens in the root hair. Okay. If you see this figure here, I'm not sure if it is clearly visible or not. They're basically trying to show you how water molecules is taken up by the root. So no other part of the plant takes up water. Even if you're watering, the leaves every day, it doesn't matter. The water has to reach the roots. Okay, only from there it will be picked up. So via osmosis, because of the concentration difference, and because cells have a cell membrane which makes them, which makes it a semi-permeable membrane by default, right? So because of that, it will take up water. Okay. And now this water which is taken up by the root has to reach, or has to travel up everywhere and has to reach all parts of the plant, right? Because it has to reach the leaves for photosynthesis. It has to reach all other parts of the plant for whatever functioning or, respiration things, etc. Whatever other functions the remaining parts of the plant need to perform. Okay. So it is absorbed like this via the root hair. So that is our step number 1. Then because of this, okay, understanding what is root pressure and transpiration pull, I'll come to in the next slide. What is transpiration pull? Basically, what will happen is this water, once it is taken up from the root, it will be directed to the xylem tissue. Okay, the xylem here. So this is the process. Roots to xylem to leaf. And from this leaf, it is given out via the stomata. Okay, this is how the water moves from roots to xylem to all parts of the plant, finally to leaf, and whatever is extra is diffused out or evaporated out from the stomata. Okay. Okay, have you taken it down?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I have to get him.
Okay. Anybody still writing?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, now you need to understand one important concept, which is transpiration. Okay, transpiration, probably you would have heard of this term before, what the meaning is, right? But understanding how it helps in the uptake of water, or basically how it helps in the movement of water throughout the plant is important. Okay, again, take down everything. Important slide. Okay, so this is the definition of transpiration. Okay, which is basically the loss of water. Somebody saying something?
Could you please show the previous slide just for 5 seconds?
Yeah, sure. I thought everybody was done. 1 second. Yeah. Done?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, yeah, here it is. Right. So this is the definition of transpiration, basically the loss of water in the form of water vapor. Vapors is nothing but water vapor. You can add water or just leave it anything. From the living tissues of aerial parts of the plant, a very, very technical definition, right? Basically, transpiration is nothing but the loss of water from the stomata in the leaves. Okay. How does it happen? Again, by the process of diffusion through stomata. Diffusion is the same thing as osmosis, but the only difference being there is no semi-permeable membrane involved, and it happens for solids, liquids, and gases. So it could be for anything, though the rate of diffusion in gases would be the highest, right? So basically, because of the concentration difference, because there is less water in the atmosphere compared to the leaf, the water would move out from the stomata. Okay. Now you need to understand what is transpiration pull. Okay. So this is the definition of transpiration pull. Basically, it is the biological process in which the force of pulling is produced inside the xylem tissue. And this force helps in the upward movement of water into the xylem vessels. Okay. Okay. Let me know once you've taken it down, I'll explain it to you what exactly they're trying to say.
Done, ma'am.
Done. Okay, so see what happens is if this is your plant. Let me make a small one here. There's no purple plant, it has to be green. Okay, this is your leaf, and let's say you have a plant and you have. Okay, now if I'm saying transpiration is basically the loss of water here. Okay, the leaf is losing water via the stomata. Stomata, let's just ignore it for the time being because we don't really require where exactly the water loss is happening for understanding transpiration pool. Basically, what you need to understand is the water concentration was low here in the atmosphere and it was high here. Okay, because of that, the water is given out. So now what happens is now here inside the leaf, it has become low again because whatever water was there, it gave it out. Okay. So now because it has become low in the leaf, there is one kind of a force or some kind of a pressure which is applied. And this pressure or this force is the one which makes the water molecules, which the root just has taken up, right, which is going to travel like this. Because of that force or pressure, they are going to travel upwards and move into the leaf again. So that again there is a high concentration here, and again the water can go out like this. So this entire cycle which happens, that is called as the transpiration pull, or the, you know, how transpiration helps the water move upward via the xylem. Okay. Why is this important? Is because if you notice, water is traveling against the direction of gravity. Okay, I can't write the whole thing. Right, isn't it? Usually everything, or you know, whatever needs to move, we usually, or you know, even the universe usually prefers everything to travel in the direction of gravity, so that extra energy does not need to be expended or is not required, right, for moving things here and there, isn't it? But here if you observe, this is one process which is happening against the direction of gravity. This is not the only one, of course there are many, but I'm just giving you an example, right? Because it is happening against the direction of gravity, transpiration pull becomes a very important concept, or it becomes a, you know, something which is very very crucial for the plants. Because if this is absent, if the transpiration pull is absent, then water will not be able to reach the aerial parts, or basically, you know, all the tips. And aerial basically refers to the top or the tips of the plants. Okay, so it will not be able to reach the top parts of the plant. Okay. So this is it in simple word. What happens is, because water is lost, there is a low concentration created in the leaf. And in order to make that low concentration of water high concentration again, water is taken up, or you know, there is some kind of force which is exerted on the xylem tissue, which ensures that the water which was just taken up by the root is transported back to the leaf. Okay. And now you might ask, why do you, you know, if the plant is going to end up, you know, losing water, why does it need to keep taking in water if it's going to just keep giving it out, isn't it? This is because it needs to maintain something called equilibrium, which you study in chemistry, physics, everywhere, right? You learn about something called equilibrium, where a balance is required to be maintained everywhere. Okay. So always the universe, or the, you know, the atmosphere here, let's not bring universe, the atmosphere and the plant are trying to maintain the same amount of water concentration on both sides. Okay. And this entire thing, you know, the loss of water, or the fact that water is being pulled up back into the leaf, all this is happening just to maintain equilibrium. Okay. Whenever there's a disturbance, or when the concentration is not the same, okay, that's what equilibrium would refer to. Same. Equilibrium is just a technical term for saying same concentration or same something.
KD constant, right? Like
Uh,
I read it somewhere it's denoted by KD.
yeah, that is not required for you right now. That is uh, an advanced thing which you learn in grade 11 in chemistry. Not required right now. That is for reactions, etc. So you, like I said, equilibrium is a term which you will come across repeatedly in physics and chemistry. Wherever you come across, it will refer to maintaining same conditions or same anything, same concentration, same condition, same situation, same heat, whatever it may be. Okay. Yeah, so here the plant and the atmosphere are trying to maintain the same water concentration. Because of this, this is continuously happening. Got it? Okay. Right. So yeah, that's transpiration pull. So now you should be able to appreciate, the importance of transpiration, because all the time we were learning that transpiration is not good for plants, right? They're losing too much water, and that's why the plant also keeps the stomata closed. Some plants keep it closed during the day, especially in deserts, etc. Right? But this helps us or helps the plant in this way as well. It's not a complete waste of water, or it's not a procedure where the plant is losing out. It has its own pros and cons. That's all. Okay. Yes. Next, we have to see what happens in phloem. Okay, there's not much to explain. I'll tell you what you should take down. Okay, this you can take down. First point, and you can take down. Okay, you can take down this third point. Skip everything else. First and third point only to be taken down. For that, first point is for getting the definition of translocation. Okay, translocation basically is the transport of soluble products of photosynthesis. That's basically food they're talking about. Okay. Food and minerals, when food and minerals is being transported from one part of the plant to another, it's called translocation. Okay. And it requires energy. Even movement of water required energy, right? And that energy was being given by the transpiration pull that was helping, right? Okay, the last paragraph which they have given in detail tells you the same process of osmosis which is happening, where how osmotic pressure combined with energy, this is basically active transport which is explained here, how that is taking up food. So again, not required right now. When we do revisions, when you are thorough with the basics, I will come back to it. So I don't want you to burden you with everything now itself, right? We'll need something to study once you are a little bit thorough with the basics of the chapter. That time I'll come back to it. Done? Taken down first and third point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay. Anybody still writing? Yes, that. Okay. Let me know once you're done, Tia. Then I'll go ahead.
And we have to note down first and third, right?
Yes, yes, first and third. You can just combine them and say that translocation requires energy. You can combine it in one point and write.
Yes, ma'am. Done.
Right. Okay, so again, this diagram explains the two differences, right? Everything. So this also I'll come back because they are explained the osmotic pressure plus ATP, which is nothing but active transport. So in grade 9, we studied passive transport. So osmosis and diffusion are examples of passive transport where energy is not required. So whichever transport requires energy is called active transport. So I'll come back to all of it once we do revision. Okay. Yes, now we come to the final part, which is excretion, our last life process, right? Okay. In excretion, what you mainly need to know is basically the units of filtration, which is the nephron, kidneys, etc. Right? Of course, the organ would be kidney, the units would be nephrons. Then we have the diagram of nephron, which is very important. Yeah, the one apart from the breathing diagram, which I said, which is asked frequently, nephron is the other one which is asked very, very frequently because there's not much theory under excretion. Again, because it is a very long process. I think When they were making the textbook, they also got fed up. And while teaching also, we tend to, miss out on completing it. So that's why probably there's not much theory to it. Though, of course, it's not like it's an easy process or there is no process happening. This is also as complicated as circulation or digestion, etc. But all the steps and everything in detail is not there right now. Probably later you might learn. Okay, so only important thing is the diagram of nephron. And yeah, some examples like which organisms give out ammonia, which give out uric acid, urea, all that again we'll do when we do revision, those kind of extra little tidbits. But apart from that, these are the two main things. Yeah, just some basics. Like in plants, what happens? Some Okay, you can take this down. This actually will help you. Okay, what are the waste products which are there in plants? These are some examples. So oxygen is a waste product. How will oxygen be given out?
Through stomata.
Stomata, correct, right? Right, excess water we know is given out by transpiration. We just studied that. Then what else can happen is other waste products. Again, this is again we go back to class 9, wherein vacuole was a type of a cell organelle. Okay, since you're talking of plant cells, make. Okay, this is our plant cell. Then we have an organelle which is known as vacuole, right? It occupies around 50 to 90% of the plant cell space. So if you remember, vacuole's main purpose was storage. Okay. So this is what is done. All the waste products or whatever the cell does not require or probably would require in the future, depending on the cell conditions or the situation that time, the vacuole will either keep things or it will keep the waste depending on whatever the situation is, right? Okay. So yeah, this is where the waste products can be stored in. They can also be stored in leaves which are about to fall off, which are about to die, etc., and they can fall off. Another type of waste product is also resin and gums, right? These are the sticky things which you get from the tree trunks. So when some trees, no, when you cut the bark like this, one sticky liquid comes out. Okay, they are what are called as resins and gums. Good example of this is rubber. Okay, this is how we get rubber. Rubber is actually a type of resin and it is collected and we get it out like that. Another example of a tasty product which comes like this is maple syrup. I don't know if you would have tried it. I don't think I've also tried it. But yeah, maple syrup, you get it like this from the bark. That's why it is super sticky. You also get some other useful products like xanthan gums, etc. A lot of items. But yeah, the ones which we commonly know or very simple example would be rubber, classic example of that. Not all trees give out resin and gums, so it's not like if you try to cut open or just make a cut in the bark of any tree, it's not like all of them will give out some resin and gums. Some trees do that. Okay. And some amount of waste is also released into the soil. So you may get a question like, what are the okay, I can't frame it correctly, but something like they might ask you that do we get useful products from plant waste? Is there any useful products which we get from plant waste? And that answer to that would be resin and gums that we are using extensively, right? It is like a gift for us. Waste for the plants, but a gift for us. Okay. Done. Can I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Now we have excretion in humans. So yeah, this diagram is important. Important, and it is asked to draw. I won't ask you to draw it right now because then I will, I'll miss out on time in explaining what I have to. But once class is over, please refer to either this PPT which I will be sending, or refer to your chapter notes, or refer to your textbook. Refer anything, any of these three things, and draw this diagram. Okay. I tried to include different diagram here so that you can pick and choose that whichever is the simplest one for you to draw. All of them are correct. This is not a problem. Just pick out the simple one which you feel is easier to draw and draw it. All these points are important, so make sure you are adding everything here in the diagram. All labelings are important. Okay, right. Okay, this is frequently asked to draw and rarely asked to label. So drawing is important in this case. If you know how to draw it, of course, labeling comes hand in hand, right? Labeling may these are important: glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, PCT, DCT. These four are important. Collecting duct also. Loop of Henle also. Okay. Okay. Let me see which video I wanted to show you. Forgot. Yes. Do we have time? We have time. This is a little bit long video, but if you get bored, please feel free to stop me. Okay, I'll stop and I'll explain instead of him explaining. But he's explained it very nicely, so I thought if you could see the animation kind of thing and hear the explanation, it would be better. But yeah, if you get bored, please tell me. I'll stop in between. Okay.
It is a really convenient way to think about it. If we look at the cross section of the kidney, the outermost part is known as the cortex. The next part is the medulla. Next is the pelvis. And the artery that supplies it is known as the renal artery. Renal is just an adjective which describes things to do with the kidney. It makes sense then that the blood vessel that leaves the kidney is known as the renal vein. And the tube which exits the kidney with all of the waste products is known as the ureter. And the ureter connects to the bladder, and then from the bladder, materials can exit the body. Inside of the kidneys, we've got lots and lots and lots of these tiny, tiny little structures, which are known as nephrons. Inside of each kidney, there might be about 1 million of these things. They're really, really small. Let's look closer at the first step of the nephron here. And now notice that blood which is entering, which is coming from a branch of the renal artery, is coming through a blood vessel which is relatively wide compared to the blood vessel which is leaving this area. And that blood will eventually connect up to the renal vein. In between all of this is a capillary network known as the glomerulus. And what happens is, because the blood vessel that enters is wider, it kind of gets a little bit constricted as it's trying to leave after the glomerulus. So the result is we get really high pressure inside of the glomerulus. The area surrounding this is known as the Bowman's capsule or the renal capsule, and the high pressure forces material to move from the glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule. Once the material's in the Bowman's capsule, it can then continue on through the tubule. But let's have a little bit of a closer look at how materials move across from the glomerulus and into the Bowman's capsule. Notice that there's lots of tiny little spaces between them. These spaces are really small, meaning that red blood cells can't get through. They're too large. Similarly, other large structures like proteins are mostly too big to get through. Smaller structures, however, little molecules like urea, they are small enough to get through. So urea will transfer into the Bowman's capsule. Now, you might be tempted to think that this is the job done. We've got rid of the toxic material that's gone into the Bowman's capsule. The rest of the blood can continue on as normal and re-enter circulation, and the job's done. Unfortunately, this isn't the end of the story. Because small things can fit through, other small materials, which are quite useful, will also fit through and enter the nephron into the Bowman's capsule. Things like salts, glucose, water, these things are all going to enter. Now, this part is known as ultrafiltration, the movement of materials from the glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule. So in order to get the useful materials back, we know there's got to be a next step. So we've got these materials now moving through the tubule. Let's investigate what's going to happen in a section of this. Here we've got the blood capillary represented in red and the nephron represented in green. And we can see in the nephron all of the materials. Some of them are useful, some of them are not so useful. These materials can move from the nephron into the blood capillary via active transport.
Ma'am, the audio
Notice
is
that
not
some of the materials
proper.
have moved.
Sorry, you were saying something.
Ma'am, the audio is not proper.
Mom, the
Oh,
audio. Yes, mom, it's cracking.
oh, is it cracking? Sorry, sorry. Oh, it's very clear at my end. Okay, what should I do? Okay, what I'll do is I'll send this video on the group, so watch it after class immediately. Okay. I wanted to watch it because it is explained very nicely with animations and all. Okay, I'll do that. Chaliga. Okay. Sorry. I guess my system is not equipped to play multiple things at a time. Right. So they have explained everything in detail. Okay, everything which happens right from this step where now of course you would have got a brief idea, right? Everything is transported via blood, like I was mentioning multiple times. So even waste will be transported or traveling through the blood vessels and it will reach the kidneys. This is the diagram. Yeah, I forgot to tell you that this is the diagram of a nephron, which is the functional, or you could say the small structural and functional unit of the kidneys. They're a type of special cells which are only present in the kidneys and they are called nephrons. Okay, this is the diagram of one nephron, which looks like this. And like they said in the video, there are around 2 to 3 million nephrons in one kidney. Okay. And the entire video explains what happens at every step. So how the materials are moving from the this is the capillary network, right? Glomerulus. Now you would have also understood why there is a capillary network here, so that there is faster diffusion or movement of materials from the capillary into this tubule, into the nephron, right? So the blue part is the nephron, the red part is the blood vessels, or the the blood vessels, you can call it. Right. So the video explains to you how the materials move from the blood vessels into this tubule. Then what happens in this area, which is called a PCT, what happens in the DCT, and how finally this is going to go here in the end they show, right? How this will go to the ureter, etc. So all the filtration happens here. The rest of the steps like ureter to bladder to urethra, there is no filtration or anything happening. There's just transport and storage which is happening. Everything, the main processes are happening here. And like in digestion, some amount of water will be reabsorbed as well. That is why I would like you to watch that video. Little bit long, but yeah, I think everything is covered in it. Okay. Okay. Another video which is included here is on dialysis. Again, something I would come back to when I do revision. So what happens is, in some people, you could say in some people, due to certain conditions or due to some genetic factors or diseases, etc., sometimes the kidneys stop functioning. Okay, so how is the waste or how do you get rid of the toxic substances when your kidneys stop functioning? So that time we use a process which is known as dialysis, which is also known as an artificial kidney. Right. So we have spent all these years in understanding the function of this nephron, in understanding how the kidneys exactly undergo filtration, or how what do they do to extract waste, etc. So once we understood that entire procedure, we were able to replicate it outside in a machine. Okay. So that machine, or that entire process of taking your blood and passing it through an artificial machine and sending it back to your body, that entire process is called dialysis. Okay. So we've created like a machine, and then you attach it to your one of your major arteries in your hand somewhere. They'll just poke a pipe, or poke a hole so that you can insert a little small tube in one of your arteries, and that entire blood, so entire blood through your body will now flow from here and come back to your body, right? That's why it's a time consuming process. If you would have heard somebody is on dialysis, right, they either have to be continuously on dialysis if both the kidneys are gone. If one kidney is working, you can definitely avoid it, you can survive on one kidney as well, right? But yeah, if both of them are not functioning, dialysis is a extensive and a time consuming procedure. Why? Because entire volume of the blood has to move through this and come back to your system at a slow rate, right? So that's why. So yeah, that's about dialysis, something we'll do once you understand or get a hang of what all the kidneys and nephrons do, right? Okay. Yes. So these are some of the functions which is again explained in a video, right? The first step would be glomerular filtration. Filtration you would be knowing, right? You're separating either some kind of a mixture, or you're separating solids from liquids. It's a type of a I would say it's type of a process used to separate stuff. Okay, filtration, something like that. So here what happens is all the waste product is filtered, or the waste product is separated from the blood. That's why it's called filtration here. So that is explained. So you can take down these points. These are important. These are the four functions, the four major functions of nephron, and these are the four steps also. You can either call it functions or steps. So it goes this way in this order itself. First glomerular filtration, then tubular absorption, then it will go to collecting ducts, and then it will go on to the ureter, bladder, and finally will be excreted out through the urethra. Right. So yeah, first step you will have from the capillaries all the waste products, and like the video mentioned also, right? Some amount of extra substances are also absorbed, which might be useful to us, some salts, some water content, etc. along with the waste. So usually in humans the waste is urea, okay? In some animals, in usually birds, right? Birds excrete or their waste product would be ammonia. Not all of us give out urea and not all of us give out ammonia. Some even give out uric acid. So it depends on what type of waste product they give out. They are called different names. Okay. Okay. So we give out the waste product in humans is urea. Okay. In some of the tests, right? Some tests which they do for certain diseases, they would be measuring the amount of urea, which is, when they do some urine tests, etc. They're basically seeing if you are, giving out some important salts and the amount of urea in your urine, which you're passing out. So that's why they, for some tests or to identify certain diseases or conditions, they even do urine tests, right? Right. If urea is accumulated in the body, it is not good for us. It's like we are accumulating or we are harboring toxic substances. Then other things, other organs can start malfunctioning a bit. That's why it's important that waste removal is done on time, or your everything is clear in your system. Okay, so since a lot of extra stuff apart from urea gets absorbed in the nephron during glomerular filtration, you have the next step called tubular reabsorption. So reabsorption is basically whatever extra stuff which which came into the nephron, which but is useful for us, is taken back inside. Okay, that's tubular reabsorption. Right. Then you have what is collecting ducts. They basically collect everything now. Okay. They keep collecting it. Okay. That's their job. That's it. And then that is now going to get, once it is collected and it's like you have a proper channel like thing which where you need to send it through. So that's the next step. So these collecting ducts, which they have collected sufficient amount of waste and water, etc., they will pass it on to the ureter, where it is stored in the urinary bladder for some time. At least 1 to 2 liters can be stored in the urinary bladder. Then we have, there are regions in your brain. There is always, for everything there are signals being given. So on the correct signal being given, yes, the urinary bladder will relax, right, and it will be passed out through the urethra. That's, yeah, important point. So whatever is highlighted in bold, you must know that. So these are the four main steps, and the four, you must know the bold parts. The rest, the explanation which is given, you can write in your own words. But these things are like keywords, right? So don't write anything else instead of that. Yeah, sometimes when you're reading glomerular filtration, you might also come across the term ultrafiltration. Okay, not able to write. Yeah, you might come across this word which was there in the video as well, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing as glomerular filtration. Okay. Just 1 second. I think, yeah. Right. Okay. Let me know once you all are done. That. So this brings us to the end of our chapter. Like I said, excretion is the smallest part among all the 4 life processes. And this is all you need to remember: the diagram of nephron, the diagram of yeah, actually there's one more diagram in the CN which you can make note of, which is the diagram of kidneys, ureters, etc. So the basic excretory system diagram. This also, if you are aware, it would be good. Usually the focus is on the nephron part instead of this, but yeah, these points you must know. Where is the bladder and where is the urethra? Okay, this diagram is there in the chapter notes. Okay, and yeah, diagram of nephron and these 4 points. This is all you need to remember under excretion. So excretion is not much. Biggest part is the transportation part because there are too many points. Next is digestion, right? Nutrition, basically. Nutrition. Then is respiration. Okay. Done? Have you taken it down? Or still writing?
I'm done.
Done?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So what I would like you to do is I will definitely send the video, the excretion video right away. So you can have a look at it. Then once I finish with batch 2, I'll send the PPT as well. So you will have the PPT. So over your summer vacation, make sure you are reading through the PPT, collect points, whichever you're not understanding, so that once our classes resume, when we do revision, you are, at least you have a basic hang of the chapter that, okay, this is there. This is all what we learned. This all things I need to remember, right? So if you study it slowly over the course of your summer vacation, it won't feel overwhelming. Okay. So jot down all the things you don't understand so that when we meet next time, you can ask me all your questions and I'll get it cleared. Right? Because all this is new, you might not have doubts the minute I teach you, but when you read it on your own, you will get questions that, okay, what happens to this or what happens to that? So collect all those and make sure that we get it clarified when we have our next class. Right? Okay. So yeah, make sure you all are sending notes. Some of you are not sending the notes at all, right? I think I've not seen Sujal's notes. I've not seen somebody else. Who else? I've not seen your notes at all. Shana, I've seen. Samriddhi, yeah, I think I've not seen your notes. Have you sent before?
No, ma'am, actually I didn't send them yesterday
So
because I had
please
some
send.
network issues, so I just saw the session again. So
Okay, yeah. So make sure you all are sending your notes today. Okay, without fail, complete everything in the chapter and please send your notes. Okay. Okay, cool. So your job is now to go through the video which I sent and make notes and make notes. Nahi, basically just compile and send your notes and go through the chapter during your summer vacations. And I will see you once the summer vacation ends. So have a good holiday, rest, relax, enjoy your days. Okay. So yeah, if you all are done taking down the notes, then you can leave. We are done with our class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Okay, anybody still writing? Done?
Ma'am, I wanted to inform you my notebook actually tore. So I have to redo the notes. I've done whatever was done in the class, but I have to put them together and then can I send it? So by today evening I'll send it.
हाँ ठीक है चलेगा. By today
Okay.
evening.
I'm so sorry for the notebook and all of that. But I'll
No.
do it. I'll do it for sure.
Yeah. Just make sure you're sending it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.